Hello everyone. In this video, we will be going over very common mistakes that most people make in OPPE and I will tell you how you can avoid those mistakes. So, the first mistake is printing and taking inputs in a function. Whenever you are given a function type question, you should not take inputs inside and print the result because the variables are already passed as arguments, right? And you just need to use those variables, do the operation and return the result. You should not print the result unless it is specifically asked. Now, the next question is docstring formatting. So, docstring is basically this comment which is written inside triple quotes. So, if you remove a triple quote from here or you remove a quote from here, it will be an error, right? Or if you add more quotes, that is also an error. So you should not play with these triple quotes, or you should not play with this docstring. So if you have a docstring, you should make sure that these always have three quotes as starting and three quotes as ending. Or you can just select this and completely remove it. This is also fine. And since you know that docstring is used for multi-line comments, you may try to comment a code block with docstrings. But when you do that, you see that there is an error. Why it is? Because you have three quotes over here and three quotes over here. So as soon as it finds another three quotes, it will end the comment. So this is basically one comment and everything after this is not in a comment. So that is why we are getting red lines, which means errors. So what you can do is to what you can do to avoid this error is you can use comments instead. So you can just select everything you want to comment out and you can press control forward slash. This will comment every line that you have selected. The next mistake is improper indentation. Indentation basically means you should have spaces. So in a function, whatever you want inside this should be at a certain indent. So this docstring is inside this function and the return statement should also be inside this function. So we need a indent for this. You can, if you want to give indent in a single line, you can place your cursor at the very starting and you can press tab. And if you want to use you can you want to put an indent in multiple lines at once, you can select each line and press tab to move it towards the right side and shift tab to move it towards the left side. The next mistake is incorrect use of double equals to and single equals to. So the double equals to is for comparison while the single equals to is for assignment. So there is one example. So we have to take two input variables x and y and we have to make another variable z with the value of x and check whether it is equals to y or not. So we take two inputs and if we do z equals x, this is a mistake because we are basically checking if z is equals to x or not. But what we have to do, we have to make a variable z with the value of x. So this is the correct way, a single equal to sign. Now and for from here we can see that the double equals to is used for comparison. So we can just print y equals z. It will check if y is equals to z or not. The next blunder, or you can say the next mistake is using if else statements instead of Boolean expressions. So when there is a small expression like this, that if x is greater than 0, we print true, else we print false. So this is a code for checking whether x is a positive number or not. So instead of this, we can just print x greater than 0. Since this is a Boolean operation, it will return either true or false. If x is greater than 0, it will directly return true and we can print it. And if it is 0 or less than 0, it will print false. So we do not need these long if else expressions for this. So this is an overkill. And similarly with this one also, that these operations are also an overkill. Like we are checking if n is even or not. So n mod 2 equals 0, return true, else we return false. We can directly just return n mod 2 equals 0. So this will return true if n is actually n mod 2 is actually 0 and false otherwise. Now unnecessary loops where slicing can be used. So this is another mistake. Let's, so the example is using a loop to filter out elements that are at. So this should be at. So that are at even indices. Okay. So we have a list and we have to make a new list and we have to just filter out those elements which are at even indices. So we just loop over all the indices, and if the index mod 2 equals 0, which means if the index is even, we add it to the new list. But there is a simpler and a better way to do this. We can just use this slice. We start at the first element, we end at the very last element, and we take a step of 2, which means we are taking every other index. And since we are starting at the first index, which is 0, and we are taking every other index, all the indices which are even, only that elements will get copied to this new list. The next mistake is using unnecessary loops where in operator can be used. So the in operator is basically used to check if some particular thing is inside a string, list, or a tuple, or a set, any collection or not. So we take a string input, we say found equals to false, and for every character in string we are checking if the character is equals to s or not. If the character is equals to s, we'll say that found equals to true, and we print break, and we break and we print the found, whether the character is inside the string or not. But this is very lengthy. A shorter and simpler way is to just use the in operator, which is s in string. It will print true if s is inside the string. It will print false if it's not. Then next is using split when it is not needed. So if there is only one word, then split is not needed, right? So this is an overkill. So this is not wrong, it will work correctly, but this is an overkill because this is not required. So for words in s.split, for characters in words, if characters equals a, count plus equals to 1. Rather than this, see, there are two for loops. You can just do one for loop. That for character in s, if characters equals a, count plus 1. So this is for uh, counting number of a's in a particular string. Now, the next blunder is using input with the prompt and test case based setting. So when you are writing code locally in a and running it on your own terminal, you can use prompts like this, that enter number of pairs inside the input string. But when you are solving GRPS or you are giving OPPE exam, if you do this, enter the number of pairs, it is printing one extra thing which is not there in the expected output. So you will not get a correct result. That is why you should always use an empty input statement. You should not have a prompt inside it. And then the last one is creating unnecessary variables. Uh, Taking the similar example of the addition function, you can just result x plus y. You do not need to store the result in a variable and return the variable. That is very unnecessary. You can just return the you can just do the operation and return the same thing. So that is it, and hope you do not make these mistakes in the OPP exam.